let's save the institution, because so much time has been spent undermining the institution by saying it's fraudulent and by saying it has no weight.
Other members in this body,
and I just, let's listen in for just a moment.
Or who wish to change their vote.
And as you can see, the presiding member is asking if anyone wants to change their vote, to turn over essentially what is now the outcome, which is to, for the first time in U.S. history, everybody there will now be part of this moment of ousting a Speaker of the House. It's never happened before. One of the shortest tenures ever for Kevin McCarthy. The last member of the House that served a short period like this was a man named Michael Kerr in 1876, and he died of consumption. Kevin McCarthy's speakership is dying from a fight within his own party, the far right wing of his party, who has led a revolt against him on a number of issues, specifically led by Matt Gaetz. John Dickerson.
When McCarthy was ascending to this, he said the one thing you cannot allow is the motion to vacate, because that gives one person the power to undermine your speakership. And if it doesn't come to pass what has come to pass today, it nevertheless can hold a sword of Damocles over your entire speakership, always threatening anything you do. And the problem with that is that a legislative body is built on compromise. It is built on the kinds of agreements that Matt Gaetz has now used to bounce McCarthy from the chair.
The nays are 210. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. The office of Speaker of the House of the United States House of Representatives is hereby declared vacant.
Well, I don't know about the rest of you, but I just got the chills. You know, the House of Representatives serves a very important function as a representative body in a democracy, serves alongside the Senate, makes up the U.S. Congress, one of our three important branches of government. And now the Speaker of the House, who is second in line to the presidency, that office is now vacant. I want to bring in Nancy Cordes, who covered the Hill for a long time, as well as many of us have, and now our chief White House correspondent. Nancy?
Well, Nora, this is a very serious situation. The government is set to run out of funding again within 43 days. And as of right now, there is no Speaker of the House who would make any kind of an agreement with the Senate, with the president. And there's no telling who the Speaker will be or when they will be seated. And so there is a major power vacuum all of a sudden in the House of Representatives. And this is a very tricky situation for the White House. On one hand, they haven't had very nice things to say about Kevin McCarthy over the past couple of weeks. They've been accusing him of backing away from a deal that he made with the president, a budget deal back in May. On the other hand, at least he was a known quantity. They knew who they were dealing with, and now they have no idea who they'll be dealing with, let alone whether House Republicans are going to be able to coalesce around anyone.
Nancy Cordes at the White House, thank you. The Republican-led House of Representatives has voted to oust Kevin McCarthy, a Republican of California, as Speaker of the House. This is the first removal of its kind in congressional history. I want to bring in Scott McFarland, who is there up on the Hill. Scott, what happens now?
Nancy, Nora, you're looking at the new Speaker Pro Tem. At least for now, the temporary Speaker of the House is Patrick McHenry, a McCarthy loyalist and ally from North Carolina. I'm keeping my eyes to the side because Kevin McCarthy may be walking by any moment now, and we'll want to ask if he is going to run again to be Speaker, because nothing of what just happened precludes him from running again for that post. They have to dust off some very old game plans and playbooks right now. They're dusty because they've never been used before, but there is a continuity of Congress plan where somebody fills in the role as Speaker until a new Speaker election is conducted. Patrick McHenry of North Carolina for now is holding that spot. But there's going to have to be another set of speaker elections, and we can see a recurrence of what we saw in January, a 15-vote marathon before Kevin McCarthy secured the necessary votes. A speakership that began with history is kind of ending with history today.
Scott McFarland standing by there waiting for former Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy. Want to bring back in John Dickerson, and this is a victory for Matt Gaetz, a Republican out of Florida who has had a personal has involved in a lot of personal acrimony with Kevin McCarthy, but this is a success. He led this effort, and it has been successful because 8 Republicans voted yes, and none of the Democrats voted to save Kevin McCarthy.
And we should take hold of this obvious fact, is that Matt Gaetz and his Confederates voted out the Speaker for the sin of working with Democrats, and they did that by working with Democrats. It's a reality of the institution that they are a part of. And that is the difficulty for the Republican Party, is that it has built itself and brought itself to power by saying essentially that the institution is so thoroughly broken, the other party is so thoroughly at odds with the American progress, that it holds positions that are completely against the messiness of legislation that has to happen to make progress. And so Americans look at the institution of Congress, which they already had a basement level opinion of, and now they're going into the deep shale. Whatever is below the basement, that is likely to be where the American opinions are when they look at this fight and this complete collapse that has happened in the House, and no immediate solution to how that's going to go forward so that they can begin to be in a position to address the very serious and real challenges the country faces.
I want to bring back in Scott McFarland, who is on the Hill. And Scott, what role did Donald Trump at all play in this?
Well, Donald Trump certainly played a key role in keeping Democrats from saving Kevin McCarthy. Democrats told me today one of their issues, why they wouldn't swoop in, is their concern about what Kevin McCarthy did in support of Donald Trump right after January 6th. I've got some new intel from some of the House Republicans who voted against Kevin McCarthy today. They say they're not going to have an immediate vote on a new speaker. They're going to take a recess that is what they call subject to the call of the chair, which is a nice Washington way of saying indefinitely. I asked 2 of the defectors from Kevin McCarthy and his Republican caucus if they had a new name to offer up, and they said no, which is really the fundamental issue. It has been from the start. There's been no alternative, no plan B revealed by this faction of House Republicans, which is why Kevin McCarthy is not only not precluded from running again, but might not be dissuaded from running again after today's vote. There simply is nobody else to take his place.
And Scott, one other thing as we see the cameras around Matt Gaetz, he has been accused by even fellow Republicans of engaging in juvenile behavior, in the words of Congresswoman Kelly Armstrong, as someone who is showboating and seeking attention. How has this also refocused attention on the ethics issues that Congressman Gaetz faces? What are some of the things they're investigating when it comes to Mr. Gaetz?
That's right, Nora. His critics have said Matt Gaetz is starving and always ravenous for media attention, for a platform, and for fundraising. And he certainly has gotten his share of attention and a platform over the past 72 hours since he began executing this plan. There has been an investigation at the federal level which found no criminal misconduct of Matt Gaetz, nothing to charge. There's been an ethics investigation into Matt Gaetz, into some of his personal dealings and business dealings that has not resulted in an ethics committee finding against him. But his critics say this is personal, that Matt Gaetz is personally showing animus towards Kevin McCarthy, and that's what inspired this. But it was, nevertheless, Nora, an effective revolt by Matt Gaetz.
Scott McFarland, thank you. We are also witnessing a scrum just on the steps of the Capitol with Congressman Gaetz. Let's listen in for a moment.
In progress right now with some of my colleagues. I think there was a stage of denial, and I've certainly experienced a good amount of their anger, and now we appear to be headed toward bargaining. I think the world of Steve Scalise. I think he'd make a phenomenal speaker.
of getting expelled?
I'm afraid of $33 trillion in debt crushing the working people in my district. I'm afraid of the dollar losing its status as the global reserve currency. If they want to expel me, let me know when they have the vote.
Has anyone talked about that with you? 45 days left before we got less than 45 days.
Heard Congressman Gates, who led this revolt. Oh, let's just see. Look at Scott McFarland is trying to shout a question to the speaker there. Go back to Scott's camera.
I think Kevin McCarthy should take a hint. After 15 ballots.
An effort. We're not. There you go. That's the speaker just passed by there.
And after.
Scott, did he say anything?
Yeah, he said he's going to make a statement shortly. I would have been inclined to him make the statement just here right now. I asked him if he's going to run for speaker again, because that really is the fundamental question that underwrites all of this. He says he's about to speak. He's moving toward his office where cameras are prohibited. So perhaps he's going to take a moment to gather the troops, get a nose count, get a sense of where things head from here, maybe have discussions with the defectors or with the Democratic leader, but didn't immediately answer a point-blank question he clearly heard. Are you going to run again for speaker? That's what's going to dictate what happens next year in the House, Nora.
Right. And how many votes, remind us again, did it take for Kevin McCarthy to assume the speakership?
Well, at the time he did in January, it took 218, a majority of the House. The numbers have shifted.
15 roll calls. That's what I meant. I should have asked you how many roll call votes. Yes.
15 long, hour-long rounds that spanned days and really was an unprecedented moment in Congress. We've just seen two of them involving Kevin McCarthy in the same year.
And I have to just ask you, Scott, because we just heard Congressman Gates was asked about Steve Scalise, who is the majority leader of the U.S. House of Representatives. Is he a likely alternative?
He has shown no outward interest to this, and when asked questions about it, he's deflected and said he's in support of Kevin McCarthy. If there's going to be a plan B, some alternative, it's going to have to happen before Kevin McCarthy starts mobilizing, because he is going to have the ability to get at least 200, 210 members of his conference back on board. They stuck with him till the end, and no doubt he could bring that to the floor again later today or tomorrow. But what do you do about the 11 defectors? Or in this case, the 8.
Capitol Hill. Want to also touch base. There's been another bit of breaking news today, important from the day two in the business fraud trial against Donald Trump. The judge today imposing a limited gag order on the former president, Donald Trump. When I bring in CBS's Robert Costa, he has been inside the courtroom for most of the day. He joins us now from Manhattan. And Robert, tell us about this news. I feel like we've covered a lot of historic moments together in the last couple of years with this splintered Republican Party, and now the House of Representatives plunged into chaos.
Yeah, it does feel, Nora, like this one goes to 11. In other words, everything we've always rated on a scale of 1 to 10, because A, it's obviously never happened again. The way forward is completely unknown. And then what happens to the big issue at the center of this, which is this is a fight over whether the way in which the House does business, imperfect, meandering, difficult in a democracy, because that's the way it's supposed to be. It was designed that way. Can that get back on track in a party where all of those behaviors, which are necessary to get progress, where you have a very thin margin, all of those behaviors become toxic and get you kicked out of the job? How do you make progress? Who rebuilds that? And how does that get rebuilt? That's the big question for any kind of progress coming out of the House in the future.
That's right. With a looming government shutdown just weeks away, more business, important business to be done. California Republican Kevin McCarthy dethroned as Speaker of the House by hard-line conservatives in his own party and with no help from Democrats, despite efforts by some Republicans to try and get their help to try and save him. This is a developing story. We'll continue to have news on CBS News Streaming, your local news, and we will have a full wrap-up and new reporting tonight on the CBS Evening News. This has been a CBS News special report. I'm Nora O'Donnell in Washington.
This is CBS 2 News at 4.
breaking right now at 4 o'clock. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy ousted. A live report on what's next from Capitol Hill.
Also breaking into this hour, a young woman found dead in a hotel freezer 6 years ago. Now, a settlement for the family.
Chicago's newest migrant shelter getting ready to open its doors today. It comes as Mayor Brandon Johnson and Governor J.B. Pritzker put pressure on the White House for help. Right now, breaking news from Archer Heights, where a CTA employee has been shot.
Chopper 2 over the scene right now at 47th and Archer. You can see a CTA bus underneath a bridge. Red crime scene tape and several police cars also surround the bus. We are told the CTA employee is in stable condition, taken to Mount Sinai Hospital. We do not know how the person was shot. We will continue to monitor this situation. We have crews on the way, and we will bring you updates as soon as they become available. And breaking news in Washington, D.C. As you saw in a CBS News special report, Kevin McCarthy has been ousted as Speaker of the House.
CBS 2's Skylar Henry is live on Capitol Hill. The vote coming down just within the past 30 minutes, Skylar. So walk us through exactly what happened here today.
Jim and Erica, well, really this all stemmed from Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz, who had proposed this motion to vacate Kevin McCarthy as Speaker for some time now, following the decision over the weekend that the then Speaker made with Democrats in order to try to keep the government open. Remember, for weeks, if not months now, we had talked about that looming government shutdown that would have went into effect over the weekend. Well, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, then the House Speaker, made a deal with Democrats in order to try to keep the government open with what's referred to as a continuing resolution, a stopgap bill for the next 45 days to try to find some common ground on several appropriations bills in order to keep the government up and running and to keep paychecks coming from millions of federal workers. Well, Congressman Gaetz found issue with that, namely the fact that several of those hardline conservatives in the House of Representatives ultimately wanted deeper spending cuts. Also, they were calling for no funding for Ukraine and the country's war efforts against Russia. And so because of that, and because of what we saw on Sunday on Face the Nation right here on CBS between our Margaret Brennan and then House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, dialogue that the two came to. Ultimately, that is what led to this motion that we saw today. And so the final vote, 216 to 210, all of the Democrats voting in lockstep along with 8 Republicans who sided with them in order to oust the Speaker. Now what we have is a situation where we do not know who will be the next potential person to run the House of Representatives. We know that Patrick McHenry, the Republican out of North Carolina, is the Speaker pro tem for the time being. It is a possibility that we could see former Speaker McCarthy run again. Because he was ousted does not mean that he can't run again, but a little bit of chaos, unprecedented territory without a doubt, as we are working through exactly what comes next here on Capitol Hill.
Skylar Henry on Capitol Hill, thanks so much for joining us.
You bet.
Also breaking this afternoon, we are learning the family of a 19-year-old woman who died of hypothermia inside a hotel freezer has reached a settlement agreement. You may recall Kanika Jenkins was found dead inside a walk-in freezer at the Crown Plaza Hotel in Rosemont back in 2017. Jenkins went missing during a party early in the morning of September